All right, guys, so what we're going to talk about is how to practice for solo and ensemble very briefly. So when you have a solo, preferably it's something that challenges you and something that you enjoy playing, and this is going to be judged, right? So it needs to be pretty good. It's going to be however long it is. So my recommendation when you're practicing a solo is when you first get it, really tackle it as soon as you can, read through the whole thing, be aware of what's in the piece, aware of every detail that's in the piece. Now that doesn't mean you have to master it right away, just like be aware of everything that's going on. And then from there on out, I strongly suggest maybe reading it through a couple times and then work a lot on the first section, whatever that is, and then work very hard on the second section, because if something's not going to be as good as the rest of the piece, to me it makes sense for it to be somewhere in the middle. Because I think judges remember, and I've been a judge many times too, is we remember the first impression and the last impression the best. Now if there's a significant part in the middle that you absolutely have to have down perfectly, that can come into play as well. But it makes sense to me to sort of work this way. Start in the beginning and the end and work your way towards the middle as you prepare this thing. But another way you want to balance that out with for a practicing approach is identifying tough spots. So if the beginning's easy and you got that, and the ending is easy and you got that, but there's a whole bunch of sections in the middle, but you notice section like D, for instance, is really tough, then spend more time on that right away. Learning a piece like that is challenging to some degree, in my mind, I view it as learning in layers. The first layer is some things you're just going to get right away because it's easy for you, or you just understand it, whatever reason, or maybe you can already play it, or maybe it just comes quickly to you for whatever reason. Second layer is something that you're not going to get it right away, but you might get it in a week or two. Third layer is identifying stuff that you know is going to take you time to learn. Maybe it's a fast thing that you know you need to get yourself physically prepared for, or maybe it's more of a mental thing. Maybe it's a huge dynamic contrast, and maybe you're not used to playing lots of really louds and lots of really softs, so you have to get used to that. That's something that might take some time. So when you're looking at a piece, you want to look for these sort of things. Review the whole thing first, identify the different things that you know that you need to work on, nail the beginning, nail the end, work your way towards the middle, and then as you work towards the middle, focus more of your time early on the stuff that's more challenging, so that you're giving yourself time to have it ready by the time you have to perform it wherever you're performing it. This is true not just for solo and ensemble judging in your school, band, county, or whatever, but if you're doing auditions, it's a great way to approach it, or if you're just doing a live performance where obviously you care about how well you perform in front of people. So that's with soloing. Now, as a percussion instructor and director myself, that's the way that I approach any scores of music that I'm rehearsing with any group. Is the first thing I like to do is be like, okay, let's go through the whole thing and see what's going on. And while that's going on, I'm listening to you, but I'm also identifying things in the music that I'm not hearing that I want to hear out of you. I'm identifying parts that I think are going to be more challenging. I'm identifying parts that I think are going to be less challenging. So we focus on the beginning, after that, and the end. Then we work our way towards the middle. And if something in the middle seems pretty easy, that'll sort of work itself out by the time we get to the end of our timeline before a performance, then I don't spend a whole lot of time on that. If something is very challenging, and I know that it'll take a lot of rehearsal time, then I try to tackle that right away. So I don't always practice, in fact, I rarely practice any piece in chronological order. What that means is I rarely start from the beginning and go to the end, and then go to the beginning and go to the end over and over and over again. I will usually tackle the ends, the front and the back, work our way towards the center, and then once we can start playing through the whole thing, then we'll start doing reps on playing the whole thing. And if you guys can remember over the time you've spent with me, you've probably noticed that I kind of tend to do that, right? Every single group I rehearse does extremely well because I feel like this is a very efficient way to approach rehearsing a group, but also how you practice at home. So